Now on 5, the latest on the day's events making the headlines with 5 News.
Tonight, as aid struggles to get through, donations from the British people top £100 million. The Disasters Emergency Committee say they've never seen anything like it. We'll speak to them live. Also tonight, the Brits heading out to help in person. Plus a setback in the search for missing Sally. And selling off the silver, the FA Cup is up for sale. Hello, I'm Kate Sanderson with all the news you need to know in 15 minutes. The British public has now donated £100 million to the Tsunami Disaster Fund. The Disasters Emergency Committee promised that the money will be spent wisely and well. Jane Moyo from the committee is with us now. Jane, when you set up this campaign just over a week ago, did you ever imagine the response you'd get?
No, we didn't. And I was speaking to the aid agencies this morning on the ground and saying we're getting up to 100 million, and they were so immensely thankful because we'll be able to put that money to good use, rebuilding lives and livelihoods over the years to come. This is a situation which demands an extraordinary response. The whole of the Indian Ocean basin has been devastated by one of the world's greatest natural disasters, and we have to be in there for the long haul.
Now today the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan has pressed governments to fulfil their pledges and to give the cash now. How confident are you that they will do so?
It's imperative that they fulfil on their pledges and put up hard cash. There is a historic problem with governments not donating or pledging funds and not then coming up with their promises. But if they don't, we'll have a make, do and mend situation rather than societies being fixed and being able to get on with their lives. Rich country governments cannot be found wanting.
Jane Moyo from the Disasters Emergency Committee, thank you very much for your time. Well, it seems many Britons aren't content with just giving money. They want to give their time and expertise as well. 5's Lindley Gooden reports.
They've been piling up as much essential aid here as they can, anything from medicine to baby bottles. This stockpile could save hundreds of lives. But at the moment, there's no way of flying it out. Volunteers are having to pay their own way to Asia, taking medicines in their hand luggage.
This can go in the baby stuff, actually.
Yeah. Kanchana Rajarathan is a newly qualified doctor. She's decided to take her annual leave and help out in a Sri Lankan medical centre.
Part of me was heartbroken because I'm a doctor and I can't watch what you see there and not be able to help. So hopefully I'll be able to decide, can I treat this patient myself? If I can, great. If not, we need to get them somewhere where there's help for them.
They're taking so many deliveries here that they're running out of space to put them. The main priority now is to find a plane so that they can deliver all these supplies to people at the other end.
We've got loads of stuff here and we've got loads of people ready and waiting to get the work done when it gets out there, but we need a flight.
Hundreds of other doctors, builders, engineers have been so moved that they're also offering to fly themselves to Asia.
Because we've not been able to shift this, first thing I'd like to do is take some with me, maybe distribute it to areas that need it the most.
Joseph Ashmore is also waiting for a flight so that he can help build short-term shelters in Aceh.
Emergency, we need to get there quickly, but in a coordinated and coherent fashion.
This is heavy.
This temple's now having to turn some people away. Without a flight, it's up to people like Kanchana to take whatever they can with them. Lindley Gooden, 5 News.
Aid is barely trickling into the worst hit areas. Almost 500 miles off Sri Lanka's coastline took a battering. From the town of Kalmunai, Peter Sharp reports.
On this stretch of stricken coastline, even the dead are unable to rest in peace. Village dogs scavenging from the shallow beach graves. And for the living, the physical destruction of the region's infrastructure is causing massive delays in the delivery of aid. With so many bridges swept away on the coast road, locals have taken to the water to bring in supplies. But it's just a trickle. Those who tried to ford the partially submerged road paid the price. These two Norwegian aid workers, brave or foolhardy, lost their vehicle and very nearly their lives as locals dragged them to safety. For mile after mile heading south, the vista of destruction from our vehicle was almost uninterrupted. This is a Tamil area, and in the confusion of the camp, a rare sight. A government policeman working alongside a Tamil Tiger woman fighter. Old scores from a 20-year civil war put aside for the moment. The Tamil organisers at the camp say the aid is at last starting to get through. Locals who've lost everything disagree.
No water, no clothing, no food. And some people are distributing food that is totally insufficient. And that is only enough to give the children. And what about the adults? They are starving.
It's been 11 days since the tsunami struck. The people's patience about exhausted.
The next few weeks of this operation will be absolutely critical. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of lives will depend on the ability of the aid organisations to keep a lid on the outbreak of cholera or typhoid. Only then will the second wave of this emergency have been averted. Peter Sharp, 5 News on Sri Lanka's east coast.
Well, for today's 5 vote, we're asking tsunami aid, do you think it'll reach the right people? Yes or no? To have your say, ring us on 0901 101 5555 or text the word yes or no to 85333. And the results so far, just 10% of you believe the aid will reach the right people, but 90% of you think it won't. You can change that result. We'll bring you the latest later on in the evening. Now, police investigating the disappearance of Cambridgeshire student Sally Geeson are back to square one tonight. A taxi driver who earlier claimed he'd dropped her off close to home has changed his mind. Sally vanished on New Year's Day. Text messages were sent from her mobile. They said she got into a car and begged for help.
Sally's not a silly girl. She wouldn't get into a stranger's car. She never has and she never would. She'd be always the one to kick up a fuss about that. So the fact that she said she's got into the car with someone makes me think that she was under the impression that it was someone else or it was under different circumstances, and she's alerted her friends through text messages when she's realised it's not what she thought it was.
Well, 5's Emma Branham is in Cambridge. Emma.
Well, police said tonight that the withdrawal of the taxi driver's statement has been a major blow to the investigation. They've spent all day combing the area near Sally's home where they thought she'd been dropped off. Instead, all they know now is that she was last seen leaving the Avery pub behind me here on Regent Street at around 1 a.m. on New Year's Day. A telephone expert has been examining the text messages in the hope of finding out when and where they were sent, and it's likely that a reconstruction is going to be held tomorrow in the hope that someone comes forward with information. Back to you in the studio.
Emma in Cambridge, thank you very much. Now, the FA Cup is up for grabs. The oldest version of the trophy is going under the hammer. The auction house says it's probably the most important item of football history ever to go on sale.
It's the holy grail of British football trophies, and holding the FA Cup aloft is arguably the greatest moment in any footballer's career. This one, jealously guarded by last year's winners Manchester United, is the 4th such trophy. This is the oldest surviving FA Cup, and it's about to go under the hammer. From 1896 to 1910, it graced the trophy rooms of clubs including Aston Villa, Manchester City and Everton. Even teams no longer in the top flight of football can boast having won this trophy.
It was won by the Bury side, who beat Derby County 6-0 in 1903, the highest ever FA Cup final score. So it's a unique piece of football heritage linked to some amazing football cup finals.
This cup was first held aloft by a triumphant Sheffield Wednesday in 1896. For the players then, this was priceless. Could they have imagined 109 years on it would be selling for £250,000? Mark White, 5 News at Christie's Auction House.
Cricket and South Africa have beaten England by 196 runs in the third test. England needed 501 to win in Cape Town, but were bowled out for 304. It ends England's record-breaking run. They were unbeaten throughout last year. Well, that's all for now. In a moment, Laura is going to be here with the weather. I'm back at 5 to 8, so see you later. Goodbye.
Five Weather, in association with Birdseye.
Hello, I'm Laura Lewington. It may well be raining where you are, but there's still no point in taking out an umbrella this evening. Too windy. We got more severe gales on their way for a lot of the north. Scotland's still affected by them. The southeast is definitely seeing the best of the weather once again. And as we move through the night, the rain's still continuing for Scotland, the north and parts of Ireland. That's gradually starting to edge towards the southeast. So by first thing tomorrow morning, a lot of England affected, clearing up in the north of Scotland, but Ireland's still looking wet, the rain persisting there. Temperatures dropping to around 9 or 10 throughout the south. We're looking at a low of about 5 up in the north of Scotland, so a bit chillier there. And as we continue through the day, things are still looking wet for many of us. That wet weather a lot more persistent than it has been today, but things really are clearing up for a lot of Scotland, and the far southeast should still be escaping the wet weather. By midday, the winds are still continuing, some more hazardous driving conditions around. Top temperature about 12 or 13 throughout the south, but the real problem is still going to be those winds.
Birdseye Food, in association with the weather.
Hello, it's coming up to 8 o'clock. I'm Kate Sanderson. The British public has now donated £100 million to the tsunami appeal. The Disasters Emergency Committee promised that the money would be spent wisely. Earlier, the United Nations boss told international governments it's not a competition to see who gives the most. It's about paying up.
I am encouraged, and I think it is not a beauty contest. It is not an act of presence. I think all the leaders here are genuinely concerned and would want to make every contribution they can to assist those in need and to rebuild the lives of the communities that have been shattered.
Detectives are still questioning a man in his 20s over the murder of a pregnant woman. Tina Stevenson, already a mother of 5, was 7 months pregnant with twin boys. She was stabbed to death yesterday morning in Hull. Doctors couldn't save her babies. Tony Blair and Gordon Brown have gone head-to-head holding media events at the same time on the same subject. The Chancellor called for rich nations to unite to tackle world poverty. The Prime Minister touched on a similar theme at his news conference. He also denied he was competing with Mr. Brown for media attention.
He has done a great job. He is doing a great job. He'll continue to do a great job. On the issue of childcare, on the issue of Africa, we're united in taking this forward for the country.
Now, he's too young to drink and too young to drive, but John Smee, whose face cannot be identified for legal reasons, has been caught doing both. The 13-year-old now has a conviction for drink driving, and today he was sentenced to 4 months detention. That's it for now, but coming up in the next hour, why the FA Cup is up for grabs. Find out later. Bye-bye. Hello there, it's coming up to 9 o'clock. I'm Kate Sanderson. The British public has now donated £100 million to the tsunami appeal. The Disasters Emergency Committee are urging people to keep giving as it's a long-term problem.
This is a situation which demands an extraordinary response. The whole of the Indian Ocean basin has been devastated by one of the world's greatest natural disasters, and we have to be in there for the long haul.
Well, in today's vote here on 5, we're asking tsunami aid, do you think it will reach the right people? To have your say, ring us on 0901 101 5555 or text the word yes or no to 85333. And the results so far, just 10% of you believe the aid will reach the right people, but 90% of you think it won't. You can change that result, so do get voting. Now, my babies, the dying words of a woman pregnant with twins who was stabbed to death. Tina Stevenson, already a mother of 5, was 7 months pregnant with twin boys when she was attacked in Hull. Doctors couldn't save them. Detectives are still questioning a man.
I would appeal for anyone who knew Tina and can help provide information about her life to contact officers in the major incident room. In relation to the post-mortem examination which was conducted last night, it concluded that Tina died as a result of a single stab wound.
Police investigating the disappearance of Cambridgeshire student Sally Geeson are back to square one. A taxi driver who earlier claimed he'd dropped her off close to home has changed his mind. Sally vanished on New Year's Day. Text messages sent from her mobile said she got into a car and begged for help. And we'll be hearing from Sally's sister in our next update. Cricket now, and South Africa have beaten England by 196 runs in the third test. England needed 501 to win in Cape Town, but were bowled out for 304. And the second and oldest incarnation of the FA Cup is being sold at auction. It's expected to reach £250,000. That's all for now. Our next update is just before 10. See you later. Bye. It's just before 10. I'm Kate Sanderson. £100 million. That's how much the public has given to help the tsunami survivors. The Disasters Emergency Committee says it's unprecedented. The UN boss Kofi Annan is urging governments to come up with the cash they've promised. A taxi driver who told police he'd picked up missing student Sally Geeson is to be questioned about wasting police time. Sally vanished on New Year's Day in Cambridge. Text messages sent from her mobile said she got into a car and begged for help.
Sally's not a silly girl. She wouldn't get into a stranger's car. She never has and she never would. She'd be always the one to kick up a fuss about that. So the fact that she said she's got into the car with someone makes me think that she was under the impression that it was someone else or it was under different circumstances, and she's alerted her friends through text messages when she's realised it's not what she thought it was.
The British culture of working long hours has come under fire from the Trades Union Congress. Employees clocked up £23 billion of unpaid overtime last year. The TUC says employers take it for granted that we'll work over hours for no extra cash. And we've just heard breaking news that 3 teenagers have been charged with the murder of 10-year-old Damilola Taylor. More at 10 to 11. See you later. Bye-bye. It's almost 5 to 11. I'm Kate Sanderson. Within the last hour, police say 3 teenagers have been charged with the murder of Damilola Taylor. The schoolboy bled to death 4 years ago after being stabbed in Peckham in London. Martin Brunt has the latest on those charged.
2 of them are brothers. They're both juveniles, so we can't name them. One is a 16-year-old, one is a 17-year-old. They're described as unemployed males from Peckham. The third man we can name, he's a 19-year-old unemployed man from Peckham. He's known as Hassan Jihad, and he lives locally in Consort Road. The 3 are being held in custody overnight, one of them here at Peckham Police Station, and they'll appear before Camberwell magistrates in the morning.
The British public has now donated £100 million to the tsunami appeal, but the campaign coordinators told 5 News there'll be no quick fix.
This is a situation which demands an extraordinary response. The whole of the Indian Ocean basin has been devastated by one of the world's greatest natural disasters, and we have to be in there for the long haul.
Well, we've been asking whether you think the tsunami aid will reach the right people. The final results tonight, just 11% of you believe it will. Thanks for voting. Let's hope the others are proved wrong. A taxi driver who told police he'd picked up Sally Geeson has retracted his statement. Sally vanished on New Year's Day in Cambridge. The only clue is a string of text messages begging friends for help. Nelson Mandela has revealed that his son has died of AIDS. He wants to raise awareness of the condition, saying there's nothing to be ashamed of.
If HIV is an ordinary illness, and that's why we have called you today, to announce that my son has died. of AIDS.
On 5 News tomorrow, we'll be reviewing Colin Farrell's new movie, Alexander. It cost £8 million and the critics say it's anything but great. That's at 12 noon with Charlie State tomorrow. From me, though, good night.